Hi friends, welcome to the NPTEL course on leadership. We are in week 1 dealing with introduction to leadership. This lecture considers management thought. Before we delve into leadership in a detailed manner, it would be appropriate to consider how several exponents of management over the last several decades shaped management thinking and leadership thinking. There are 4 aspects of thoughts that have emanated from noted exponents of management over the last 50 years. The first level is the individual level. The management thoughts help us understand what governs individual behavior, productivity, motivation, etc. At a second level, which is an organizational level, these management thoughts help us understand how teams and organizations can be managed to accomplish goals. At a third business level, these management constructs help us understand how different functions of a firm or a business and how different businesses can work together to make gross domestic product of a country great. At an economic level, we can understand how individuals, organizations, businesses and economies are woven together and can be optimized together. These management thoughts generally are seen to be focused on people and processes, but if we delve into each of these management thoughts, we will find that they can be classified into these 4 clusters of individual oriented, organizational oriented, business oriented and economic oriented impactful insights. I was first exposed to several management thought leaders when I joined my MTech Industrial Engineering program at IIT Madras in 1972. During that course, as well as through my research studies thereafter and my experiential episodes thereafter, I could understand and appreciate how foundational and how pioneering the thought processes of these management pioneers had been. I have sought to lay out for you the thoughts of nearly 100 management thinkers who could be seen to have made pioneering contributions to management thought and practice over the last several decades. I do not claim that this is a completely comprehensive list of management stalwarts, but I would say that this is a very representative cross-section of management thinkers, both general management as well as specific management streams. First of all, I will talk about Frank and Lillian Gilbreth. They were pioneers in defining work and motion study. They studied human movements and reduced them to 18 basic movements. Their study of workplace standards and their study of human motions was not essentially based only on productivity improvement. Their focus was more on reducing workplace fatigue. They believe that if the human motions that are required at work are reduced, if the tools are redesigned in an optimal manner, if the workplace is planned better, and if the ergonomics were ensured, the worker would automatically be more productive. So in a way, they laid the foundation for scientific management in shop floor. They also started the pioneering ergonomics field at that point of time. They published several books on bricklaying, workman efficiency, scientific management, fatigue study, waste elimination, and applied motion study. We also have Henry Gantt and Carol Adamicki, who were pioneers in Gantt chart and PERT chart respectively. The key contributions were in terms of Gantt chart, the basic planning tool for projects big or small, their approach towards ensuring industrial efficiency, the task and bonus system so that workers can perform their tasks with productivity and motivation, and the social responsibility of business. These 2 gentlemen have laid the basic foundations what we see today as modern project management. The real father of scientific management, of course, is Frederick Taylor. He came up with the use of stopwatch for conducting time and motion study to ensure that workers perform their tasks with productivity. He had 4 principles of scientific management. Fundamentally, he replaced rule of thumb work methods with scientific study of workplaces and work tasks. He scientifically selected, trained, and developed each employee. He did not want workers to be passively trained at their own free will in a random manner. He provided detailed instruction and supervision for each worker so that he could be clear and efficient in the performance of the work duties. He divided the work equally between managers and workers, and he said that the task of the managers is to plan and ensure that the work is executed, and the duty of the workers is to understand the tasks and execute and implement those tasks in a methodical and productive manner. He saw therefore the factory operations in terms of two layers, labor as one part and capital as another part. He also saw the total employee force divided between workers and managers with clear-cut roles and responsibilities for these two groups. He summed up his efficiency techniques in the book, The Principles of Scientific Management. This was published long ago, but in 2001, the Fellows of Academy of Management voted Taylor's book as the most influential management book of the 20th century. Another thought leader, particularly in the quality area, has been Joseph Juran. He was a Romanian-born American engineer and management consultant who eventually became an evangelist for quality and quality management. His proposals were the following. He said that if quality was planned meticulously into operations, if quality was controlled with diligence, and if quality was improved on a consistent basis, every plant will have reduced cost and ensure higher margins for the business. Through proper quality management, he laid the base for lean manufacturing. He understood how business processes have to be managed. He suggested Pareto principle to control operational expenditures as well as operational efforts, and he brought in the concept of Six Sigma first time into the operational arena. His handbook, Juran's Quality Handbook, has been one of the best sellers in the domain of quality. Japan took to Joseph Juran's preachings very seriously and enthusiastically, and he was invited several times to Japan to spread his message of quality. And over years, Japan embraced his quality principles and became the leader in quality management, as we all know. Shigeru Shingo, who comes from industrial engineering background and also from Toyota operational system, he is considered the leading expert in the world on manufacturing practices. He, along with Taichi Ono, another Toyota engineer, was responsible for formulating the Toyota production system. As we all know, Toyota production system gave incomparable competitive advantage not only to Toyota but to the Japanese automobile industry in the overall. Today, many companies in the automobile field globally follow the Toyota production system. In a way, it has become a generic contribution, very valuable contribution made by Toyota to the world automotive industry. Briefly, Toyota production system comprises Kaizen, which is continuous improvement, Poka-yoke, foolproofing, and pull type production, that is ordering based on customer requirements and producing based on customer requirements. He also proposed lean manufacture, which included SMED system, which is single minute exchange of dies, quick changeover therefore, and plant versatility. And he also published several books. He was a prolific publisher of books on Shingo systems, aiming at continuous improvement, production management, and non-stock production. Together with Taichi Ono, as I said, he is clearly the architect of many Japanese productivity techniques and productivity systems. Another management thought leader is Henry Fayol. He brought out several principles of management. Out of these, 14 principles are worth mentioning here, and they even today determine how organizations are structured and how organizations are managed. Division of work, authority and responsibility, discipline, unity of command, unity of direction, subordination of individual interest to general interest, remuneration, centralization, scalar chain, order, equity, stability of tenure of personnel, initiative, and esprit de corps. Even 70 years later, the principles set out by Henry Fayol continue to be valid, given one or two changes here and there. And you can see that organizations today incorporate these principles in their design, planning, and management. The 5 primary functions of management, as he saw, was planning, organizing, commanding, coordinating, and controlling. And 14 principles of management have been enunciated by him to describe the management processes in greater detail. In all of these management thought slides, I have provided not only the images of the respected management gurus, but also gave some snapshots of their books, so that you can kind of take them for further reading at your leisure. Another thought leader is Herbert Simon. He looked at different research interests. He looked at how administrative decisions are made by managers. He had 2 streams of study, one related to choice and evaluation. He said that managers need to identify and list all the alternatives. Then they should determine the consequences resulting from each of the alternatives. And finally, he suggested the accuracy and efficiency of each of these sets of consequences should be weighed against each other and a final decision made. Through his 3-step approach, he was the founding father of the science of decision making. His book Administrative Behavior has decision making as its core. So he said that the correctness of administrative decisions is measured by the adequacy of achieving the desired objective and the efficiency with which the result is obtained. Walter Sheward belongs to another category of management thinkers. He brought in statistics as one of the primary instruments for managerial efficiency. Those who are connected with quality understand the theory and practice of statistical quality control, wherein he observed and hypothesized that the quality of a product measured in terms of certain attributes falls within a particular tolerance, which is made up of the constituents which go into the production process, be it the machine tool efficiency or the part efficiency or the cutting tool efficiency. His analytical approach, the data-based approach to quality and operations management, ensured that operational managers were able to separate out noise from signals. He felt and he proposed that extensive analysis of data, particularly real-time data measured based on statistical principles, would help managers understand the context in which production is taking place, understand the real signals from the workplace, and separate out noise which distorts information. He said that the problem can be seen in terms of 2 fundamental causative factors. One is the assignable cause and the other is chance cause. He said that the variations can be measured by the use of statistical principles in terms of statistical quality control. Again, these were pioneering thoughts and pioneering contributions for operational excellence. Chester Barnard was an American business executive and public administrator who came up with several thoughts on how executives function. Way back in 1938, he said that the functions of the executive are 4-fold. 1, he or she should establish and maintain a system of communication. He should ensure that essential services from other members are secured. His job is to formulate organizational purposes and objectives, and the executive should be able to manage people and make sure that they do their jobs. So he proposed effectiveness and efficiency as a combination that would promote longevity of the executive performance as also the corporate performance. He sought to link these managerial processes to the efficiency of the organization as also its longevity. Ronald Fisher, he brought in significant statistical inputs to qualitative management as well as to operations research. He brought in techniques such as analysis of variance, meta-analysis, F-test, student state distribution, p-value, linear discriminant analysis, diffusion equations. These were very rigorous statistical methods which were proposed by him to make sure that the operational productivity and operational integrity are maintained within the standards thought of by the management. Oliver Sheldon is a path-breaking contributor to corporate citizenship. Way back in the 1920s, he proposed several foundational principles for human relations in management. He emphasized three important things. He emphasized ethical and community aspects of business. He believed that industry should not work merely for profit or revenue but must shape society. And he also proposed in those days itself that leaders and managers must work ethically. He placed the individual in a human context rather than in a factory context. He emphasized their emotional needs along with their psychological needs. He also proposed that their economic needs must be met so that they are satisfied and productive. However, he differed from Frederick Taylor in terms of the autocratic approaches that were adopted by the scientific managers of those times. He did not consider scientific management as the primary motivator. In his landmark book, The Philosophy of Management, he demonstrated his twin concerns for sound business practice as also sound ethical practice. This quote from his book is very telling about his forethought. He said, "The cost of building the kingdom of heaven will not be found in the profit and loss accounts of industry, but in the record of every man's conscientious service." To repeat, he stated, "The cost of building the kingdom of heaven will not be found in the profit and loss accounts of industry, but in the record of every man's conscientious service." So this is very insightful and full of forethought as to what could happen in industry and management years down the road. Elton Mayo is considered one of the fathers of human relations movement. His name is inextricably linked with the Hawthorne experiments, wherein several experiments which he conducted on the shop floor have given rise to groundbreaking insights on what motivates and what inspires employees. He identified 6 drivers of productivity. He said job content of workers, social ties among workers, managers understanding informal ties among workers, the conditions that are provided to the workers, participative discussion with employees by supervisors, and choice of team members are all important drivers of productivity. His books, The Social Problems of an Industrial Civilization and The Human Problems of Industrial Civilization, were very important books in the field of human relations. So he said that intrinsically workers' logic of sentiment and emotion conflicted with managers' logic of cost and efficiency. He said that managers must find ways and means by which they are participative and collaborative with the workers so that they see alignment in the work practices and the work goals. I said we have 3 stalwarts in quality, and I mentioned Joseph Juran. We have here another stalwart, Jenichi Taguchi. He was a Japanese engineer and statistician, and from 1950s onwards, he developed a methodology which is now known by his name, Taguchi methods in manufacturing. These methods improve the quality of manufactured goods. There were 4 parameters of his quality engineering approaches. 1, system design, so that the manufacturing system is innovatively designed for quality and efficiency. The parameter design, understanding the effects of various variables and their interactions and the noise levels. Tolerance design, understanding the impact of parameters on the performance of various components and end products, and utilization of resources to control the variation. And finally, experimental design, use of techniques such as outer and orthogonal arrays to simulate the random experiments which would forecast how the actual machining sequence or the actual production methodology would work in the long term. So he was kind of hypothesizing, he was designing, he was validating through his statistical methods. His concepts pertaining to experimental design, the loss function, robust design, and the reduction of variation have influenced fields much beyond product design and manufacturing. Even sales process engineering was influenced by his thought processes. Mary Parker Follett, she brought in a lot of psychology and a lot of social behavior understanding in power dynamics in organizations. She identified two types of power: power with and power over. And she said that these are expressed in terms of understanding of lateral process, reciprocal relationships, workplace humanization, participative managerial styles, and integrative idea of society. She worked with along other organizational theorists and helped initiate effective progressive changes in management philosophy, style, and practice. And she helped revolutionize and humanize the American workplace. Russell Ackoff belongs to another generation which bridged the foundational management thoughts of the 1920s and 1930s and 1940s with more modern strategic approaches. He was a pioneer in operations research and systems thinking. He started his foundations in operations research, then moved on to systems thinking and came into corporate planning. His books, Introduction to Operations Research, Recreating Cooperation, and A Concept of Corporate Planning, have been bestsellers. He actively collaborated with the various other leaders in management thought and practice to evolve a blend of quantitative and qualitative methodologies to define what management sciences could be. To be an exponent of operations research as well as corporate strategy was no mean feat, and Russell Ackoff accomplished that. Edward Deming is the third stalwart of the quality trinity. He laid the foundations of total quality management movement. He was an American engineer, statistician, professor, and management consultant. He pioneered the use of sampling techniques in the US. He had four philosophies. The first was a four-part system of profound knowledge, 14 principles for business effectiveness. He identified 7 deadly sins of management, and he also proposed 8 obstacles for business effectiveness. One of his landmark books is The Out of the Crisis. He had a profound impact on quality movement in Japan and USA. Many companies today are very proud to receive the Demings Award for quality. He told Japanese chief executives that improving quality would reduce expenses while increasing productivity and market share. He told Ford USA that management actions and not workers' actions were responsible for 85% of all problems in developing better cars. Within Japan, as I said, the Deming Prize continues to exert considerable influence on the disciplines of quality control and quality management. When we talk about management gurus, the foremost name that comes up is the name of Peter Drucker. He was the foundation of modern management thought, and he was a prolific book writer. The management thoughts he covered were indeed numerous, and every aspect of management has had an excellent treatment by him. Some of the key foundational ideas of Peter Drucker were decentralization and simplification, phase out of the blue collar worker. He foresaw the coming white collar work wave. He saw outsourcing as a strategy. He proposed management by objectives as a better way of managing rather than management by control. He proposed repositioning of micro and macroeconomics. He advised the importance of non-profit sector. He propounded a theory of public administration. He talked about planned abandonment of businesses which were not functional. He proposed new pathways for serving customers. He had written books about respecting workers and inspiring them to work efficiently and effectively. He talked about community outreach, and he was also a great writer on innovation and on entrepreneurship. Some of the books I have illustrated here. In fact, he has written close to 40 books on diverse aspects of management. He certainly was one of the most influential thinkers and writers of the century on management. He was also quite popular across cultures, including Japan. Another thought leader in quality, Philip Crosby. He was the originator of the zero defects concept. When he came up with this concept, people thought that it was an impossible concept that could be achieved. However, today, every company which is considering itself operationally efficient and diligent feels that zero defects is a laudable, viable, and achievable concept. He said that doing it right the first time is the only way to ensure highest level of quality with zero defects. He said that the quality's real definition is conformance to requirements. and the system of quality is one of prevention. The performance standard by which quality should be judged is nothing less than zero defects or nothing more than zero defects, and the measurement of quality is the price of non-conformance. He brought about the concept of the cost of quality. If quality is not maintained, it is not just one product which is lost. The entire goodwill could be lost. In some cases, there could be serious recalls, return of goods. Idle time could happen because until the quality problem is understood and resolved, production cannot go on. So the cost of bad quality is enormous and is not properly understood. So he felt that Phillips Crosby believed that good quality management principles will provide savings returns that more than pay for the cost of the quality system. And he advocated the concept that that quality is free. It is far less expensive to do it right the first time than to pay for rework and repairs, he said. A very insightful observation. Switching gears to marketing, we have here David Ogilvy, who is considered one of the pioneers in modern brand management and marketing management. He is noted for creative brilliance, how he thought about product positioning and brand positioning, consumer research, bringing out results for clients, and professional discipline. He created the bridge between the consumer and the firm, the bridge between the product and its functionality and the consumer and the need. He was responsible for many blockbuster advertisement campaigns. One of his greatest successes was Only Dove is 1/4 moisturizing cream. This campaign helped Dove become the top-selling soap in the US. Another management thought leader is Theodore Levitt. His landmark work is Marketing Myopia. Even today, many experts in marketing as well as outside marketing quote his pioneering thought process about how marketing people are constrained in looking at the future vision because of the myopic approach to marketing. So he said that CEOs tend to be short-sighted in their mindset. They think that the firm they are running is in a growth industry, which leads to complacency. As a result, because the products are being sold good enough, they fail to see what customers want for the future. The CEOs also get blinkered and get attached to the original product. As a result, they refuse to adapt to the needs and wants of customers, and they believe that population growth is enough to enlarge the pie and therefore present expanded demand which they can share with other competitors even if other competitors come. They also believe that there will be no competitive substitute for the product which they have pioneered and which have been successfully sold in the marketplace. As a result, they also tend to have too much faith in low-cost mass production or carefully controlled experimentation. So he said that all of these things are indicators or components of marketing myopia, which makes a firm get cocooned into its own mythology about its invincibility and eventually gets overtaken by more nimble, more agile and more proactive competitors. He said that to continue growing, companies must ascertain and act on the customer's needs and desires and not bank on the presumptive longevity of their products. He also said that in every case, the reason growth is threatened, slowed or stopped is not because the market is saturated, it is because there has been a failure of management. Hal Levitt. Again, in today's competitive situation, the principles he enunciated are extremely insightful. Henry Markowitz is a pioneer in modern portfolio theory. Now we are talking about a pioneer in finance area. We have seen general management, we have seen human relations, we have seen scientific management, we have seen workplace productivity, we have seen operational excellence, we have seen quality management, and now we talk about finance. Henry Markowitz was a pioneer of modern portfolio theory. He analyzed risk, return, correlation and diversification. He came up with sparse matrix method, SimScript as a software tool, and what he has developed to understand product portfolio is probably the foundations of today's quantitative approaches to portfolio management and stock market operations. He was one of the strongest deployers of mathematical, quantitative and optimization approaches to the field of finance, more particularly stock markets. Another management thought leader is Chris Argyris. He was an expert in organization development and learning organizations. His early research explored the impact of formal organizational structures, control systems, and management on individuals and how they would respond and adapt to them. Then he shifted his focus to organizational change, in particular exploring the behavior of senior executives in organization. He had a very matured view for organizing people and motivating them. He believed that managers who treat people positively and as responsible adults will achieve productivity. He also held that mature workers want additional responsibilities, a variety of tasks, and the ability to participate in decisions. He also came to the conclusion that problems with employees are the result of mature personalities managed using outdated practices. He said that when the organization comprises mature employees, but the processes deployed in the organization are outdated vintage processes, there is bound to be sub-optimization and even conflict. So he talked about several steps of ensuring that organizations get transformed from experiencing and observing, taking data points, drawing conclusions, and modifying the organizational approaches to employee management. Alfred Chandler is another expert, thinker, and practitioner of strategic management. I would say that he was one of the early thinkers in the field of strategic management. His thesis was that there were a few key resources which a firm must manage strategically: employees, materials, plants, marketing, and distribution channels. He said that functional structures would increase efficiency, and to grow and diversify, a company has to consistently and continuously find new products and new markets. And when it comes to a transition from unitary product style to conglomerate product style, divisional organization is required to manage large conglomerates. He studied 4 large firms in the 1920s, DuPont, GM, Standard Oil, and Sears Roebuck, to establish the thesis, which is even today foundational, that structure follows strategy. The strategy which a company wants to identify, whether it would like to be internationalized, whether it would like to be a diversified conglomerate, or whether it would like to be a specialized product manufacturer, all of these have a significant bearing on the organizational structure and the business structure. His pioneering book is The Visible Hand, The Managerial Revolution in American Business. He described strategy as the determination of long-term goals and objectives, the adoption of courses of action, and associated allocation of resources required to achieve goals. And he defined structure as the design of the organization through which strategy can be administered. He said that changes in an organization's strategy would lead to new administrative problems, which in turn would require newer and refashioned structures so that the new strategy can be successfully employed. So his study of strategy and structure even today holds good, I would say. In respect of organizational design, Francis Likert has been a pioneering thinker. He came up with 4 management systems which are called Likert management systems. The first one is exploitative authoritative. The second one is benevolent authoritative. The third is consultative, and the fourth one is the participative. He recommends the participative methodology as the best methodology for ensuring that organization is full of motivated and inspired people. He started with the Likert scale method, which was an approach to creating a psychometrically sound scale based on responses to multiple questions and items. And this has led him to develop these 4 management styles. He has also created the linking pin organization structure, wherein it is not just vertical hierarchy. The vertical hierarchy is simultaneously expanded into a horizontal organizational networking, so that information diffusion happens and collaboration happens more naturally and more in alignment with the structure that has been designed. So he has made fundamental contributions to human organizations contributing to the business organization, and how corporate success can be a resultant of positive management environment. Douglas McGregor. He is best known for his theory X and theory Y. These findings are extremely important, and they mark a radical transformation in how managers can look at their employees. His 1960 book, The Human Side of Enterprise, had a profound influence on management. In this book, he talked about employee attitudes and motivation and saw them as theory X and theory Y in terms of managers viewing their employees. Under theory X, managers think that a typical employee avoids work, he needs to be controlled, he will avoid responsibility, and the employee is just concerned with basic security needs. But under theory Y, which is an evolved theory which is more humanistic, the manager believes that work is natural, employees can self-control themselves, employees will accept responsibility, and employees are typically concerned more with higher order need fulfillment, which is self-actualization, which I referred to earlier. He is heralded as one of the most important contributors to management thought, and his book is one of the most important pieces of management literature ever written. Even today, this book continues to receive the highest accolades several decades after its first publication. His focus on self-motivation of employees and self-direction of employees is probably the core expression for the concepts such as enablement, empowerment, participation that we talk about very frequently and very openly these days. Henry Mintzberg is another organizational scientist. He has thought about several organizational configurations as part of his work. He tried to combine strategic planning with organizational design. He said that an organization is made up of several layers, starting with the basic working staff, that is support staff, having a technostructure, an operating core, a middle line, and a strategic apex. He said that organizations are of 6 types. 1, a very simple structure. 2nd, a machine bureaucracy. 3rd, a professional bureaucracy. 4th, a diversified organization. 5th, an innovative organization. And 6th, adhocracy. Each of these organizations, he said, have their own specific coordination mechanisms, which are expressed in terms of mutual adjustment, direct supervision, standardization of work process, standardization of output, standardization of skills, standardization of norms. In an innovative organization, some of these standardization aspects are downregulated and some of the innovative aspects are upregulated. Whereas in a machine bureaucracy, the standardized practices and processes as well as norms are upregulated and some of the innovative aspects are downregulated. So it is the thesis that you should devise an organization structure which is more aligned to strategic planning and strategic goals of the companies. He suggested linking of individual competencies with organizational competencies and with corporate business goals. Switching back to finance, Franco Modigliani has been one of the pioneers in terms of life cycle hypothesis, and his Modigliani-Miller theorem on dividend payouts is one of the foundational theories for corporate financial management and for capital markets. He said that the level of saving in the economy is dependent on saving during the working years and then spending during the retirement. That is the life cycle hypothesis. He also proposed a theorem for corporate finance which posited that under certain assumptions, the value of a firm is not affected by whether it is financed by equity or by debt. So the concept of debt equity ratio is unimportant as long as the enterprise value is sustained by the business viability. He also proposed the Modigliani risk-adjusted performance, which is a measure of risk-adjusted returns of an investment portfolio that was derived from Sharpe ratio, another pioneer, which is adjusted for the risk of the portfolio relative to the benchmark, for example, the market. Modigliani's work on fiscal policy and corporate finance generated major intellectual discussions on macroeconomics, monetary and fiscal policies and capital markets with a significant quantitative modeling. He also collaborated with Merton Miller who came up with the no arbitrage view of corporate finance. His contributions to Nobel Prize winning thesis, along with Harry Markowitz and William F. Sharpe, were very notable. He said that the traditional view of corporate finance has been that a corporation can reduce its cost of capital by finding the right debt equity ratio. But as per the theorem which he co-authored with Modigliani, he said that there is no right ratio, so corporate managers should seek to minimize the tax liability and maximize corporate net worth, letting the debt ratio chips fall where they will. He arrived at the conclusion based on the premise that any state of affairs that will allow traders of any market instrument to create a riskless money machine will almost immediately disappear. That is, risk is inherent in business, and there is no way in which you can avoid risk either by pure equity methodology or by any other methodology. So his view of corporate finance, which rules out arbitrage, has been another foundational theory in corporate finance. So with this we come to the end of the first tranche of management thinkers. During this lecture, we covered several management thinkers coming from different backgrounds: general management, organizational behavior, social psychology, scientific management, modern strategic management, organization design, financial management, and importantly, quality management. We have seen how each of these thought stalwarts provided certain foundational thoughts for us to build our management thoughts, conduct more research into the directions pioneered by them. Again, within these great thinkers, each of them is vested with a pioneering role by history in terms of their seminal contributions to the mainstream of management thought. And some have been absolutely fantastic, such as the contribution to the quality movement around the world, Douglas McGregor's contributions to the human side of enterprise, and Peter Drucker's broad spectrum of management thoughts on how to strengthen managerial process and managerial thinking on a number of fields. So the list is nearly endless, and we would cover more management thinkers in the forthcoming two lectures, lecture number 4 and lecture number 5. With this, I take leave for this lecture. See you again in lecture 4. Thank you.